Okay, I am finishing up my third playthrough of Fire Emblem Three Houses. So, I did the church route first, blasted through the Golden Deer route immediately afterward, and then I fired up a Blue Lions playthrough, never finished it, and I've only just now gotten around to, like, playing it again and winding it down. If only because, like, the new one's coming out, and I kind of want to, like, familiarize myself with, like, all the characters and all the lore, and it's just, like, it is shocking how good of a game Fire Emblem Three Houses actually is. Like, it's very interesting because, like, I remember saying this when it came out, like, how deeply flawed it was. Because it does have weird pacing. Its mechanics are kind of convoluted. The story does kind of suck. And yet, like, by and large, it's, like, my second favorite RPG on the console. Like, legit. It is phenomenal. Like, how impressive this game is in spite of its flaws, right? It is slow paced, it is meandering, but that really leads, like, it to feeling like you're making all these discoveries and realizations about the characters and, like, coming to really interesting, like, conclusions about the setting and the lore, right? Like, and that's what makes it so entertaining and so interesting, is that, like, characters wildly differentiate depending on, like, whether or not you're, like, depending on what route you're on. Claude kind of does whatever the plot wants him to do. Edelgard is, like, a little bit more laid back, and Crimson Flower, like, she's a little bit more normal, right? You have, like, Dimitri, who, like, stays insane the entire time if you're not with him. Like, again, you see these situations play out, and it just makes playing different routes, like, incredibly rewarding, especially when you take into consideration, like, the sequel, Three Hopes, which the Warriors game, which in a lot of ways is actually quite a lot better than this. Like, what you have is just this really unique, compelling RPG that really makes you, like, invested in, like, the characters and, like, the setting. And, like, I really felt like after Three Hopes in particular, they could, like, keep making Three Houses games with the same characters and just come up with, like, these wildly different scenarios. They're going with a different direction with it in Fortune's Weave. I don't know if we're going to see, like, any returning characters in that one. Like, we'll have to see. Like, time travel does exist in Fire Emblem, so I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility. But, like, you look at, like, what Fortune's Weave is doing, and it seems to be, like, following up pretty hardcore on this. And that's a really interesting thing to think about, because Three Houses, for all of its, like, positive qualities, it is something that really feels as if it's kind of like a flawed gem in that sense. Like, I feel like, Fortune's Weave, if it has, like, better character writing, if it has a better plot, if it has a better route system, if it has, like, better gameplay, if it has, like, better everything, like, it's going to be, like, a phenomenal game. Probably. I mean, it's really difficult to judge Fire Emblems before they come out. Because of how much of it, like, relies on, like, the tone and the setting and how much invested you get in the characters. Like, Three Houses really feels like it's something that shouldn't work in comparison. And like, I'm very curious if, like, they're going to try and, like, recreate that feeling with Fortune's Weave, or if they're going to go in a wildly different direction with it. We'll have to see. We will have to see. But there's no denying right now that Three Houses is the most popular FE ever. Like, significantly. Like, it is remarkable at just how well put together it is, and how much it kind of just draws people in. Okay, because playing Blue Lions for the first time, like, Blue Lions were the characters that I didn't really care about at all, right? Because I just never really resonated with any of them. I thought they were kind of boring. I went Black Legals, did not regret my choice at all. Love all the characters there. But, and I also recruited characters from, like, the Golden Deer, right? I got, like Scythia, who's great. Marianne's great. Like, Hilda's great. Like, there are lots of really cool characters at the Golden Deer as well. But, like, the Blue Lions were kind of boring, I thought, like, until I actually played their route. And you start getting, like, more into, like, their characters and their backgrounds and their history. Like, Felix and Annette. You got, like, the Gilbert thing. You got, like, Dimitri. Probably the best arc in the game. The most cohesive arc in the game. Because Claude, like I said, just kind of does whatever he wants. Like, what we're seeing is a game that just has established itself as just an all-time classic. And it's so strange to me that, like, so many people out there are so adamant that like Three Houses is disappointing or not that great or like not living up to expectations, right? You're seeing a lot of people make excuses as to why they're upset about this game for existing, right? You see a lot of people like spurging out about this kind of stuff. You see a lot of people like, you know, questioning things and like, trying to condemn like whatever Nintendo's doing, and it's something that like I do think we need to speak out against more often, right? Like, why exactly are we still in this process where we act like Three Houses wasn't a big deal and acting as if Fortune's Weave isn't like going to be as big or a bigger success? Because like it's interesting to me how like a lot of people got it in their heads that like Fortune's Weave was kind of a nothing burger announcement and nobody cared for it, and it was just gonna be it was just like underwhelming people. And like I think objectively speaking, I think Fortune's Weave is what's gonna like make the Switch 2 the JRPG machine this generation. Like that and Genesis, I think, are going to be like two games that kind of solidify like that the Switch 2 as the JRPG powerhouse. Not that it wasn't already, but like I think for the past couple of generations, people got it in their heads that like, well, like Square is still on top of their game. Like they still got Dragon Quest. They still, like we can play Final Fantasy VII Remake. Like that hasn't like Final Fantasy VII Remake was a disaster. Like it is crazy how much better like Nintendo's remakes are. So like what I'm curious about, looking at like the current situation regarding Switch 2, like I'm really wondering if Fortune's Weave is going to have the same kind of like explosion of relevancy that Three Houses did. Because it has a lot of the same template, right? It has the art style. It's a direct sequel to the best-selling Fire Emblem game ever. It's coming out early in the console's lifespan. Like, it's very possible this is going to be the Fire Emblem that makes the series, like, mainstream. For a variety of reasons. But, like, I feel as if the masses just don't want to accept that. They don't want to accept that Fire Emblem is the biggest strategy RPG in the world, that it's way better than Warhammer 40K or like, Final Fantasy Tactics or whatever slot people try and put up against it. Like, Fire Emblem is just like killing it right now. And we really have to move past this idea that it's a niche IP that does not matter. Because that isn't true. Like, and to a lesser extent, that's also true for Xenoblade. But like, when it comes to Fire Emblem specifically, like, this is a series that consistently sees massive gains every new release, okay? And I imagine the more fans this gets, the more people start playing the older ones and become more invested in it. Like, I'm very, very curious to see, like, how much of Fortune Weave's success, like, carries over into people trying out Three Hopes and Three Houses for the first time. It's going to be remarkable. But, yeah, this is probably my most anticipated Switch 2 game right now, and a big reason for that is because I love Fire Emblem Three Houses so much.